Hi, this is Ashley L. Jones, author of Modern Cast Iron, and today I want to share with you a few things you want to look out for when you're shopping for vintage cast iron cookware. These are things you really don't want in your cookware, but they're also things that you may not mind at the same time. So let me show you what I mean. This particular pan is from Birmingham Stove and Range BSR, and that's one of the most popular vintage brands we're going to find here in North Florida because that's the closest foundry we had here back in the day. This pan has been restored and it looks really nice from the outside. But watch this. You see that? This is a wobbler, also known as a spinner, and that is because it has been restored in a fire and it is slightly bowed on the bottom. Now you can't really see it, but as you can tell, it's noticeable when you put it on a flat surface. And so what you would do if you were shopping for cast iron, you would make sure to put it on a very flat surface and see if it spins. You can also use a straight edge and see if there's any bowing down or bowing in on the inside of the pan. It can go both ways. So that's what happens when you put a pan in the fire. This one, a little bit different. You can actually see some discoloration in the pan. You can really see it on the bottom. When you start looking at pans with a little bit of a pinkish to reddish hue, that means it's been in a fire. And I don't mean the house caught on fire, I mean someone was restoring it and they stuck it in a fire to get rid of the seasoning and any burnt on food, that sort of thing. It's to clean the pan, and that's how pans were restored back in the day. But we now know that there's a cost to that, and you can see that. I'll try to have some close-ups here. You can see that in the discoloration of the pan. Now, another thing you can see with this particular pan, again, I'll have to show you a close-up. There's like a little ledge here where the seasoning is a little higher on the outer rim, and then it goes in like a little crater. And I think that's because this probably had a lot of rust on the inside, and when the rust was removed, it actually took off a big piece of the pan. Now, that's fine. You may not care about aesthetics. More importantly, it means that seasoning is going to have a much harder time sticking to the pan. Now, that's the case whenever a pan is put in a fire because it changes the molecular structure of the iron itself. And so when the seasoning oil tries to adhere to the iron, it has a harder time. So your seasoning will just cook off every time you cook. It does that with these pans, and I just know that that's going to happen. At least it does a little bit more than it would with another type of pan. So I keep the seasoning in this pretty heavy, and you can see that there's actually oil in this because this is our everyday egg pan, and so we cooked in this morning. So we're going to have issues with food sticking. It's going to stick to this extra texture. The seasoning's not going to stay on. Okay, I really don't mind. It's actually one of my favorite pans. This one with the wobbling, you have an extra issue because you can't put it on a glass top stove, and I would not recommend it on an induction stove because it's not going to heat evenly. You're not going to have that full contact on the stove, and so it's just not going to cook evenly. You also run the risk of it sliding around on your stovetop. Now, I have a gas top stove, and so I have that nice heavy grill on top, and so this doesn't bother me at all. It kind of sinks down into those grill openings, and it works like a dream. These are two of my absolute favorite pans. Now, this is something I would not recommend you purchasing per se because it has these downsides. It's been in a fire, it's warped, it's not going to keep the seasoning very well, and I still love these pans. This is a lightweight pan for how big it is. I mean, it's amazing how vintage pans were made so differently. So it's a very good construction of a pan. It has the pour spout. It's got a nice sturdy handle on it. I have some sentimentality to it because it's a family pan, and it's also a deep dish pan and I have a lid for it. I mean, it's like a win-win all the way around. So this is not a pan I would recommend, but it's a pan I love. So when you're shopping for you, remember, you're shopping for you. And if you find a pan that you like, that you are going to use, then buy it and take care of it and use it and enjoy it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And if you find something like this rust bucket and you want to spend the time and the energy to take it down to something like this that you can use on a regular basis, I think it's well worth the effort. So my book, Skillet Heads, is going to tell you how to pick out your pan, how to restore your pan, or if you're not interested in that, who to send it to restore it for you. I think that's kind of everything you need to know about cast iron cookware. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you're enjoying your pan. Thanks and take care.